Okay, this video will probably be long, but today I want to go through how I refill Kaylin's pump cartridge and the sight change. We already unhooked the cartridge. Unhooked the pump. It's charging upstairs while she's taking a shower. We already took her sight off of her arm, so she doesn't have anything pump related on her at the moment. I have the syringe, the new sight and tubing, the new cartridge, the insulin vial that I'll be using. First thing to do is to make sure that the insulin is less than 28 days old, meaning was removed from the refrigerator less than 28 days ago. The date on this one, I write the date that it was opened, 9/27. Today is October 13th. So that is less than 28 days, so it should be good. This one is almost gone, so I went ahead and pulled out another vial for it to warm up for the next time that we need insulin. It's supposed to warm up for at least 2 hours before using it. If you use cold insulin in the cartridge, it tends to get bubbles, and it is much less effective because there is all air mixed in with the insulin going into her body instead of pure insulin. So it should be room temperature, ideally, before it is used, if possible. I usually pull it out at least the day before. And to open all of these, first you need the needle, the syringe. This never goes in a body. These syringes are only for the cartridge, never someone's body. Very thick needle. This I'm going to put to the side. I don't need that quite yet. And I'm going to open the cartridge as well. Notice I have gloves. Doing a video of how I change your stuff. You can come down. I wear gloves anytime I'm touching anything with insulin. You don't have to. I just don't like getting it on myself. So I just wear it for my own protection. You want to help?
Hi.
So you twist the top onto the needle onto the syringe bottom. Make sure it's tight. Then, even before you take the top off of it, the cap, you're going to pull down to, it's different for everyone, but for her, we go about 3 lines past the 1. Doesn't really have to be exact. It's just how much insulin you're going to put into the cartridge. At a minimum, I think it's 100 or 120 units. 120 units is 2 lines past the 1. I go an extra 1 past that. Okay, once you have it with air, seems counterintuitive, but it helps remove the bubbles from the insulin vial somehow. So you're going to take the syringe, put it carefully into the center of the spongy material on the top of the insulin vial, and you're going to push the air into it. It doesn't look like anything happens, but then you flip it over, and you must hold the plunger tight into it when you flip it over, because when you let go, it automatically starts to fill up because of the air you put into it. So you're gonna pull back down. I would go about 2 lines past where you had it filled with air. So in this case, that would be 5 lines below the 1, which is right at the 1.5.
I'm gonna go to the couch upstairs. Okay. So when you're ready to do the thing, I'll be off.
Can you actually grab your pump off the charger and bring it down for me, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, it's still charging. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sometimes there's bubbles down here. There's also, you can see an air bubble, a big one up here. That's fine. That's why I pulled down a little bit further. So I put when they teach you to do this, they don't teach you to put the cap back on, but if you just leave it with just the syringe and you start hitting it, insulin flies. I don't really understand why anyone would want insulin hitting them. Even if it is safe, it just doesn't sound right to me. So I put the cap back on, and I have found that then it stays inside the cap and you don't get insulin anywhere. Just a much cleaner way to do it. So you tap and you try to get all the air that you can. It's not perfect, and sometimes there's still a small bubble or two at the bottom, but you just do the best you can. And then carefully take the insulin vial. You can turn it over, it will not spill. Put this back into it and then push up. Again, when they teach this, they teach you to just squirt the insulin out, but we don't squirt it everywhere. We put it back in the vial. Push up slowly. You'll see the air bubbles come out. And when the air bubbles stop, that is when you are done. You can do this a couple times and pull more insulin down if you need to. Like I see another bubble at the top, a few bubbles that did not get cleared for whatever reason. So I will pull a little bit more insulin down into it and then just do this process again. I'll do it however many times is needed until the air is out. This is probably the most important part of it. It seems repetitive. It's the most annoying part, but if you do not get the air out, then again, it's not going to be very efficient, and you will notice that her blood sugar will tend to run higher, a lot higher than normal. So, okay, so the air is out of there now. Thought that was bad. There's another part to this. Okay, so normally you would put this in and then you're going to put it in the cartridge. However, you can't just put it in the cartridge. You have to first remove also the air from this cartridge. I'm not sure why they can't just make it without air in it or airtight initially, but there's air bubbles in this. And again, if you don't clear it out, I made the mistake of not clearing it out. I wasn't taught to at first. And it really affected her. So, little white hole there, syringe. You're gonna carefully put the syringe right in the middle of the white hole, boop, and it stops. It does not allow you to put it in all the way. That is okay. Do not push it any further. When it pushes back on you, that's good. Now, you're not gonna put the insulin into the cartridge. That would be too easy. You are going to pull back on the plunger and you're going to suck up the air from the cartridge. See all the air bubbles? Big air bubbles, a lot of air. Again, this seems like it's so much harder than it should be, but what do I know? So you can carefully pull the plunger all the way up to the top of the black lines. Be very careful not to pull it out or you'll be starting over again. And you can let it go and reset. Do not push it down, but you'll notice when you let it go, you'll see it, you'll see the air stay at the back. But yeah, you can let it go and pull it back a couple of times until all the air bubbles stop. It looks like all the air is out now. Okay, so I'm gonna let it go. It just sits like the air bubble. I don't know if you can see, it sits between the black plunger and the insulin. Some people now go ahead and they just put it in and they try to stop right at the air bubble. I don't do that. Surprise, surprise. I do the harder but better, in my opinion, more efficient way of doing it, of then once again tipping it over, tap, 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 make sure your cap is on, tap, 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 all of the bubbles to the top. And even at the top, try to get it to where it's one big bubble in the middle. That looks good. Very, very carefully peel it off. Careful not to poke yourself. That would not be good. Happens though. And then put it back in the insulin vial, and we are going to carefully, I don't know if you can see the air bubbles, tiny air bubbles coming out. Gonna carefully push until all the air is out. There. Okay, so now I am exactly right at that third line past the 1. Let me push it just one more time. Okay. It's really hard to see, like you almost need reading glasses at some point just to see the lines on here. But that looks quite good. You could just go with that. I do see one more bubble at the top, so I am going to attempt to tap that out just because I am who I am. Okay, should get one little tiny bubble. Okay, looks good. Now we go back to the cartridge, same little tiny white spongy hole. You're gonna go back into the very center with your needle. Again, it's going to stop about halfway. That's good. You don't need to push it in all the way. And then you very carefully push the plunger. It's not going to go super fast, although this one's going faster than usual. Sometimes it's a little harder. Sometimes I have to pull it out a couple times, put it back in to get it going. Do not force it. I've done that before and the insulin poured out and I had to start over. I don't know why that happens. I guess if it's clogged or something. So all of it is in, the plunger's all the way down. Carefully pull it out. Now this is full of fresh insulin. There's a saying with diabetics, organize your trash. This is a sharp, goes in your sharp bin. Usually I would go put it in there now, but I'm just gonna set it to the side for the video. But always keep your trash separate. Always keep your sharps away from your body so you don't lay your arm on it. This is just garbage. It can go in a regular trash bin. These that come with it, super important, keep these. Now I've got her pump here. Again, we had already removed it from her body. We were charging it. I am going to wake it up. Not going to resume insulin. It is not on her body. Load. I pushed the wrong button. I pushed fill tubing. So after load, we're going to click change cartridge because we are changing the cartridge. Make sure it's disconnected from the body. It is. Are you ready to continue? Yes. Now, I'm going to put it to sleep so you don't accidentally touch the screen. Take off the silicone cover. This is the cartridge here. Usually I have a key, a plastic key. You can also use a butter knife, the back of a spoon. I'm just going to use these because they're sitting here. It should work. There's a groove. You really just stick whatever in there, coin, and you gently pop it off. The cartridge is just going to slide out. This also goes in sharps. There's a needle in here. It's covered right now because I covered it. Again, why I said to save those. Over here with my needle. New cartridge. It's just shaped like an L. You slide it in here. You'll hear that pop into place. Put your silicone cover back on it in case you drop it. People drop these and they shatter. So we keep a cover on it all the time. 1, 2, 3. Remove the cartridge, install a filled cartridge. Done. Tap the unlock icon when completed. Is this in the corner? Is the cartridge installed? Yep. It's going to detect it now. While it's detecting the cartridge, I'm going to open the tubing. 2 pieces, tubing, site that goes onto her body. This one first. Unwrap it. Garbage pile. Twist lock goes into this side. They just twist together to the right. Make sure it's very tight without breaking it. There we go. They tend to come unscrewed on her, so give it another little twist for good measure. Site that will go on her body is then connected to this. This has a cover on it. Save this cover. You will reuse it. Carefully squeeze and pull very slowly. I've stabbed my finger before with this needle. It doesn't hurt anything. It's fine. It's just not very comfortable nor sanitary. Pop that into there. This is the needle that goes onto her. It's covered right now. It's protected. Keep all that like that. You don't take it off yet. The needle lays down straight up. The rest of the tubing just lays out. This says, make sure the site's disconnected from your body and securely connect the tubing to the cartridge. We've done that. Then you'll fill it. Okay. Fill tubing. Start. We're going to start it, and you're going to see the insulin come out and slowly fill this tube. Once it's done, once you see a drop at the top of this piece of plastic, you're going to push stop. It takes about 11.6 to 12 units. And it continuously reminds you to remove it from the body because when testing this device, if you read the manual, the one person that was severely injured in testing this pump, it's because they left it on their body when they filled it. You don't know when it ends, and insulin's just flowing into your body. They had to be hospitalized. I usually try to watch it go around just to make sure there's no significant bubbles, that it is flowing through, that everything looks normal. There's not any occlusions or anything, bending or, I don't know, broken tubing or anything like that. So there's a dot there. It dropped off. Just a little drop of insulin. Now it's going to tell you it's detecting insulin. It goes through the percentages. It's at 70. It's kind of going slow tonight for some reason. And now it's saying if you see drops at the end of the tubing, press done. Well, yes, there's a couple drops there. Yep, it took exactly 12 units. Now you'll see that cartridge is checked, filled tubing is checked. A cannula is this needle We don't have to fill the cannula on this type of tubing because it is included in the filling of the tubing. That's a different kind of cannula, a different type of site that requires you to separately fill the cannula. So this is all we do, 2 check marks. It's telling you to test your blood sugar in 1 to 2 hours, and do you want to resume insulin now? No, I'm just going to put it to sleep at the top because it's not on her body yet, so we don't want to resume insulin. So that is it for filling the tubing and the cartridge. I'm going to do a separate video now of how to attach it to her body. But note first, I am going to get rid of this trash, keeping these and throwing out everything else, recycling, putting in Sharps containers.